WCDX News Special Report Elections 2020 continues.
For the last few weeks, President Trump has been talking about when votes should be counted, saying things like this.
We should know the result of the election on November 3rd, the evening of November 3rd. That's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be.
If people wanted to get their ballots in, they should have gotten their ballots in long before that, a long time. They don't have to put their ballots in the same day. They could have put their ballots in a month ago.
The president has made it clear that he doesn't want votes counted past Election Day, especially ones that may be coming in the mail this week. So let's verify the president's claim that votes shouldn't be counted after Election Day. To find out, we checked with Congressional Research Service records, past election records, and the National Conference of State Legislatures. Short answer, no state reports its final result on election night, period. That means states can and do keep counting votes past Election Day, and they always have. Now that may seem confusing. We're used to seeing news outlets call the winners, but those are technically projections based on the percentage of votes available on election night. Now this year, with a pandemic and record-breaking number of mail-in ballots, it may take some states longer than normal to receive, count, and certify their ballots. But that is actually how the system works. All voting has to be done by Election Day, but counting and certifying the vote count can take longer. And each state actually has its own different deadline for when they have to certify their election results. Delaware is currently the only state required by its law to certify the results this week. So we can verify the claim that votes can't be counted after November 3rd is false. If you're seeing other election claims you want us to look into, send us an email. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.